Those are the power rankings that the tiers would kind of be Scottie, Cam, Rory, then Fitz on an island of himself in tier 2. Then you go down to Xander, Ludwig, Rickie Fowler, and then Russell Henley as that next tier. Then it's another gap. And the next tier of like 9, 10, 11 would be Hatton, Scott, Siwoo, Akshay, Fleetwood, Rahm, Mav, Burns, Jake Knapp is there. Like, he's unlikely to play. Nikolai, Morikawa, Cantlay. Like, it's a big cluster of guys. Bryson, Reed, Spieth, Thigala, Bridgman, Alex Smalley, and Sepp are both right there too.
At Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, second major of the golf season. PGA Championships, picks, research, and preview with a course flyover and all the data you need coming from the rabbit hole. Betspertsgolf.com/Mayo. Get you 25% off. And if you sign up using code Mayo this week, everyone who does that gets put into a draw. I will pluck one name. That person will get a free year. You get your money back and a free year for Betsperts Golf on the rabbit hole. All the stats, all the tools, all the simulations, the most customizable data around. And we'll be doing a walkthrough of our research with that screen shared for you today. Ryan Noonan from BetspertsGolf.com on the line with me right now. Sir, you're hot fire with outright winners. You've already built the model. Everything's coming up, Noonan.
It's a good time, Pat. I love this time of the year. Like you said before we got started, we start to get out of some of like the Southeast Florida golf. I really like some of the uniqueness and the courses that we don't get to see all the time. So getting to go to the Northeast and get to a Donald Ross track that we don't get very often. I'm excited about it. I think I know the PGA doesn't get a lot of like pre-flop buzz. Part of it is like signature event. So it's really hard to build up all this like angst about another major championship. But I think once we get into the weekend, I think that Aronimink is going to show out a little bit, and the top of the board's all playing really well. I'm pretty pumped for it.
And we've seen at the PGA Championship over the past 10 years or so, outside of last year, really, PGA Championships have been super close coming down the wire, which is always going to make for better TV.
Yep. And really like top of the board winning too, really like outside of,
Phil.
I guess, the Phil year, right? Yeah. So, which is just insane that happened still. I actually rewatched the final round the other day because I was just going through it, and I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I watch a lot of golf stuff and build models, and I wish I need better hobbies. But going back into the YouTube and watching Phil hold off, because I remember having a 60 on Brooks that week, but being able to like process it without bets and just kind of watch that back was wild. I love Kiowa too. We should, I'm sure we'll go back there very soon if it's not already on the schedule. But yeah, top of the board wins. I know you've said too, like the US Open tends to be the one where we have more like flybys. We've pretty much seen top of the board trending well, take down PGAs over the last handful of years.
Yeah, even recent form has been a very good indicator of the winners of the PGA Championship coming in. You can look at Phil's win and be like, well, he had terrible form coming in, but he actually had sneaky good form because he joined the Champions Tour right before and just started dummying everyone on the Champions Tour.
Yeah, that was his only top 10 on the PGA Tour for the entire season. Which is wild. Like you said, he took a couple of starts and beat everyone up, and I think he was probably feeling pretty good about himself. But that was a course that would not ever suit Phil. Like, was super duper long. You had to be accurate off the tee. Wild thing that footnote of history. But yeah, that was crazy.
That was the week that he started using the mini driver, or I think it may have been a 2-wood instead of a driver, and he just started finding every single fairway. And even when he missed, he was just making incredible iron shots the entire time. If you want to hear more about that, me and Kyle Porter already have the initial preview show with the all PGA team midseason awards plus power rankings for the PGA Championship. That's out on the Mayo Media feed already, or the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast if you're on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. You can find all of that there. Lend us a like to this episode, sub to Mayo Media Network. Give me your winner down in the description. That'd be helpful. And use code Mayo at Underdog. Get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. Noonan, you ready to jump into the course?
Let's get it.
All right. Aronimink GC in Pennsylvania, shade under 7,400 yards. It's a par 70, bent grass greens. The average green size is shockingly large at 8,300 square feet. And here's the fun one, Noonan. Only 3 holes with water in play, but 174 bunkers on this course.
lot of bunkers. This is another, as you typically have when we haven't seen a course for a long time. It's almost like a 80% chance that Gil Hanse got his hands on this course at some point between the last time we saw it and this time, and that's what's happened here. The bunkers are not like Oakmont where they're going to be like necessarily penal, though I think it is a spot where, like, because of the thick rough around them, you might have some situations where like guys are standing in bunkers hitting like a baseball type shot with an elevated, the ball above them, because that is one of the kind of elements here. It does have a little bit of, it's not Augusta off the tee, because it's not wide and there's penal rough, but it is a little bit Augusta from a second shot standpoint because this is kind of buried in a bowl. So there are a lot of like second shot uneven lies from distance, right? Like 175 plus is going to be most of it. As you said, a very long par 70 track. So I'm trying to find, comp courses from an approach standpoint. I do think it does have some Augusta to it. Now, again, same thing once you get around the greens, not very much like Augusta because we have, I think, thick apron rough here and not shaved runoffs and stuff. But, these are Donald Ross greens. This is like, Pinehurst has really large greens as well. But from like a playability standpoint, where you actually need to be proximity wise, they're really small. We've both have to navigate that course and, you're on the green, great, but you could be miles away with a huge spine ridge with a 6-foot bender downhill and you're kind of dead. So greens and reg, great, but not really predictive of success this week.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those situations where the green and regulation rate is going to be super high, yet it's not going to be indicative of guys that really gain a bunch on strokes gained approach. Like you can hit 75. I call this the Davis Thompson effect, where he hits 90% of greens in regulation and somehow shoots over par.
It's impressive. It's hard to do. But yeah, you're going to have a lot of that. This is, a good lag putt test. It's going to be a good approach putting type test. Big benders on the green here for sure.
We've seen this course host 3 events on the PGA Tour over the last 16 years, 2010 and 2011. It was the AT&T National where you had Justin Rose and Nick Watney. Essentially, every time this tournament has been played, Justin Rose has been awesome at it. He won at -10 in 2010. In 2011, he was, I don't know, did he end up playing there? He was T15 that year after a really bad second round at the tournament. And then he lost in a playoff to Keegan Bradley at the BMW Championship in 2018. The winning score that year was -20. It was played in August. Now, obviously, that the course has been lengthened since then. And I have a just complete list of what has been done since the Hanse redesign going into that 2018 tournament. For this PGA Championship, they've narrowed the fairways on like a third of the holes to punish aggressive driving lines more severely. They do not want to be able to allow you to pull a Bryson and just bomb and gouge this course to death. Kind of like we saw you mentioned, like a Ross design at Pinehurst. Rory and Bryson took the most aggressive lines possible, and that was the play that week. As long as you didn't get stymied behind some of the wiregrass, you were good to go.
Yeah, Bryson survived that all week. It was just one of those like Breaking Bad meme situations. He can't keep getting away with this, and he did for the most part, really kind of until the 72nd hole, and even then he kind of found a different way to get away from it. But there was a lot of rain in the 2018 one too. I remember it being really soft. I want to say there was even a Monday finish.
When I revisited the tournament, there was a lot of people wearing like coats and rain gear on the whatever the final round was. I don't know if it did get pushed or not.
Yeah, there was a lot of rain that week. So it played soft. And again, like we've seen this where they're just going to find ways to dial it up. So when you can find some of the ways it's played in the past, I think there's something to be said for, looking at that stuff, but also just we know they're going to turn the screws a little bit because it's a major championship.
And for this week, I mean, we're still a ways away from actual tee-off time on Thursday, but Saturday and Monday in Pennsylvania around the course, it looks like we're going to get some rain. That's no different than where I'm at. I'm guessing in Chicago for you, it's probably no different either, that it's just kind of raining all the time right now.
Yeah. We can't get out of the 50s. Would love to get out and actually play some golf myself, but we are stuck in this, like, it feels like March situation. So yeah, it'll be a little bit softer, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I know that they have, tons of ways to make sure that they find ways to spruce it up and make it play hard.
Now, if they do not, so this was a big point that Keith kind of hammered down on when I talked to him on Wednesday. Keith is going to be at the course at Aronimink this week. He'll be joining me on the show on Tuesday evening to break down what he's seeing at the course and get a full field preview and really like how the rough is going to look. I expect them to grow the rough out a ton to make it very penal to miss these narrow fairways, because I think that's going to be the biggest line of defense, because I just don't see a way where they can make this firm and fast.
Yeah, and we've seen that. I mean, that's your only shot, right? Like it doesn't matter what we do distance wise for these guys, especially if it's soft. Interested to see how that plays at, Quail this week. We're recording before that's even started. Again, huge golf course, but if it's going to be super duper soft, it really doesn't matter for these guys. So, they have to find ways to make it penal off the tee and make sure that they keep scoring. Or we don't have a Valhalla situation. Now, Valhalla was the only one, I think, really for the most part. The PGA Championship is still had scoring. Like Scottie was at 11 last year at Quail for the PGA Championship, but he won by like 5 shots. So, the most part you still had scoring that was, above par. So, I think they wanted to still be a good test. The public's kind of pushed back that we don't love 20 under for major championships. So they'll find ways to do it.
Yeah, I worry that this could turn into a Valhalla situation. The only thing that kind of takes that away, like that was a super soft week. Guys could just go pin seeking. Those fairways were super wide.
Yeah.
And these ones aren't. So maybe this does give, I doubt they're going to play preferred lies during a PGA championship. And who knows? It's the PGA championship. That if there was a major that was going to do that, it would be this one.
It's true.
However, it's just going to be a bit. Well, it's difficult to say because like yardage has been added to this course, including stretching the finishing hole to better handle the players. And the course is going to play, like I said, right around 7,400 yards as a par 70. That's not short by any means, but I think that there's less margin of error off the tee here, especially if it's wet and they grow the rough out, then there's going to be a real price for missing the fairway. It's funny you mentioned all those bunkers. And if they do grow up the rough around the green, like even the collars of the green for the BMW Championship were no joke that year, and I expect them to be longer this time around. That there is, we've seen this at a lot of places. Michael Kim, when he came on the show for the Masters, mentioned this, and obviously Augusta is different in that way, but there are some of these holes where you're better off being in the bunker than missing the green to the left. That could be a similar situation here. If you find yourself in the proper bunker, it's going to be better than being in the rough around the green.
Yeah, and especially in those situations that I was referencing earlier where like the ball's above your feet, but you have no stance, you have to actually get in the bunker for it. You definitely would rather see that roll in, and it might not if it's thick, especially if it's maybe a little bit wet too. Like, I don't know, like I think we both appreciate good golf architecture. It's really, those things are cool and unique. I'm also just not like a super par, score relative to par hardo. Like Valhalla wasn't a great test for a major championship. You know what it was? Entertaining as hell. It was fantastic. It was a good leaderboard. So it was a lot of fun to watch still. So again, I don't think we're going to get Valhalla type situation. I think we probably still get maybe, I don't know, 12 to 13 winner perhaps, especially if, you just find one of the guys at the top that's dialed and is not able to, doesn't have to sacrifice distance and just finding fairways at a high clip. But I like how the top of the board's trending. So that's kind of the piece to me where I could see us getting, pretty much, mid-teens winner just because one of these guys runs away.
So there is a continued emphasis on the restored Donald Ross style with its strategic bunkering. It's the diagonal fairway bunkers and the cross bunkers that Gil Hanse brought back into play during this restoration, that if they are, and they seem to be properly placed, they can pose real problems for the field. Like those are going to be the biggest line of defense here outside of the rough. I've went through and I've played Aronimink on a sim about 3 or 4 times now. And that's the one thing that I noticed. Obviously, I'm not playing from the same tees as them. I'm playing from the white tees, but it gives me kind of the same similar lengths that, if my drives go 260, I'm up 50 yards from where they're at. So like the flying should be about the same, the carry distance, and almost every single drive that you hit just brings all of these into play. And if you do choose to lay up, be it with a 3-wood, a 5-wood, you go iron off the tee, you got a ways to get into the green.
Yeah. And this is how it should be. We should have a unique test. We should have some thought on the tee box, depending on where the pin is, depending on what's happening with the wind that day. We don't want a just club head cover off, not think about it, bombs away. And that's kind of what Quail was last year. But again, it still played so firm and fast that it made it difficult. But I like the, strategy off the tee. We guys have to think about it a little bit.
So overall, I think before we jump into the modeling and to take a look at what players we want to target, we have to identify what the course is demanding. It is a long iron course, be it on your approaches if you decide to lay up on the par fives, and then you have the extremely demanding par threes. There's 3 par threes over 200 yards, which is kind of what we've seen the past few weeks, be it at Quail and Doral. That's been exactly the same thing. And I would say it's more of a strategy course that there is a chance that someone can figure out the hack. Yeah, it will be Bryson, it will be Rory, probably one of those two if they go and do it, that maybe you can bomb and gouge this place to death. However, I do think it's going to be a little bit more like the Donald Ross design that we saw at Oak Hill a few years ago when Brooks ended up winning, where, good drivers of the ball, longer and straighter, but you had your Hovlands, you had your Connors, who are excellent, Hovland's not anymore, neither is Connors at the time, premium drivers of the golf ball, but not with a ton of distance relative to the very top names. They were able to compete that week because they just kept the ball in the fairway, and that's what the course demanded.
I think the Oak Hill comp is a good one. If you're looking back at a PGA that we've had recently that sets up similar, I think that's a really good call out. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're going to get some of these side hill lie situations. So I don't know that I want to like model Augusta approach because it's so small, but like I don't mind looking back in the last, couple of years who's played well and handled those uniquely side hill lies. There's going to be a lot of that here on the second shot, fairway or rough. That's going to be a problem for guys.
The only other thing that I would throw into it is, would you look at other Donald Ross courses as a bit of a guide? I mean, the only ones that we get in regular rotation right now are the Wyndham Championship. We do get East Lake, which could be a tell. And then we have Detroit, which is an amalgamation of 2 Ross courses put into one, but it's super easy.
Yeah. I think it's tricky. I don't know that we get enough of it, and the sample would be pretty small.
Okay.
Most of his best stuff is private courses. Like he's got a bunch of bangers that we don't get to see very often. Unless they roll the ball back, maybe we could bring some of those into play.
I never realized how much a bad mattress was wrecking my sleep until I switched to Helix. Especially now that getting a full night's sleep simply can't happen with the baby around. I used to wake up in the middle of the night overheating, my back would be tight in the morning, and every time my wife moved, it felt like an earthquake on the other side of the bed. Not that she could be Typhoon's tag partner, but it was a rumble from the other side of the bed. Now, completely different. I'm sleeping throughout the night, when I can, when the baby's not waking me up, and when I do wake up, I feel rested, and honestly, my sleep tracking greatly improved. The best part with Helix is how easy they make it. You take these sleep quizzes, it matches you to the right mattress based on how you actually sleep, and it just shows up at your door. No wandering around a mattress store for 3 hours pretending to know what medium firm cooling support means. And there's a reason Helix is the most awarded mattress brand out there. Once you sleep on one, you get it. Take advantage of the Memorial Day sale, the best of the web, by going to helixsleep.com/mayo right now and get yourself 27% off your new mattress. Underdog's expanding the game. You already know their player picks. Pick higher or lower on player stats. Today, Underdog prediction markets are live in 25 states. Back your squad with spreads, handicap for closer game, or totals, higher, lower combined score, combined with player picks for bigger payouts. New customers play $5 on fantasy, get $75 in fantasy bonus entries. Code Mayo. Team picks, player picks, all on Underdog. Let's go to the rabbit hole. Once again, betspertsgolf.com/mayo. Get you 25% off, be it the weekly, monthly, or annual plan. And a lucky one of you who uses that code this week will get a free year membership to the rabbit hole up on the screen right now. I have recent form put in over the past 6 months. Let's shrink that down to the past 4 months. We throw out January and see what's going on here. Hatton is the best player in the field, Noonan, because he had a good Masters, and we don't have live data in here.
Yeah, played well at Oakmont, I guess, too. If you went into like the rolling averages view, you'd probably see some still good performances on a pretty small sample size. Good par 4 score. Par 4 is obviously going to matter because you get, you don't do fewer par 5s here this week. 4-round sample.
So what was the first thing that you wanted to look at? Because when we take a look at the recent form, Scottie, Rory, Cam, Reed, again, only 4 rounds. But realistically, Scottie, Rory, Cam, Fitz, Jake Knapp. I don't think that Jake Knapp is going to play. Yeah. My sources tell me that his thumb and wrist are in a sling right now and that he's aiming for the U.S. Open for a return. He's not officially WD'd from this tournament as of yet, but he was not on the property at Quail Hollow. He WD'd from Doral. He WD'd from the Truist. I don't think you're going to see him here.
I had a 95 in the futures, which I thought it was just a bad number. But even that, like I cashed out yesterday because I just don't, if he plays, I feel like he's not in position to really be competitive, which sucks for him because he was playing so well this season and really put it together. It felt like early it was all putter and then really started to kind of find the ball striking wise. So bummer for Knapp. Hopefully we can get him healthy this summer.
Well, the other part of this too is when I talked to Porter and then I threw it out on X at the PME about we tried to create like the all PGA team for the year. And I think there's 4 clear guys who are on that team. And then you kind of come up with a 5th guy, sort of like the all NBA team. And the 5th spot was pretty contentious. As you can see, like when you go through, Knapp is up there of regular, like even if you wanted to set the minimum rounds to, let's say, 20 for the year, or over the past little bit, like Knapp is 4th in strokes gained total. That's ahead of Xander, Siwoo, Morikawa, Bridgman, Henley, Hideki, Scott McIntyre, whoever it might be. But I think the 3 that you're seeing at the top, Scheffler, Cam Young, and Matt Fitzpatrick, along with Rory, are most definitely on that team. And for as bad quote of a year as Scheffler is having, he's trending great at this point. He has a win, and 2 signature events and the Masters, has 3 consecutive second place finishes. And the biggest thing, like when you take a look at his profile, what was he doing when he was struggling? He wasn't hitting his irons well, which is his superpower. What is he doing now? Oh, he's hitting his irons at an elite level again. Watch out for Scottie.
1,000% watch out for Scottie. Yeah, it's terrifying. I mean, what a page to be able to have that and be slumping. And you just you're still at the top of the board for strokes gained total for the calendar year. Everyone wants to find reasons why we're not scared of you anymore. Oh, we don't even need to think about the without Scottie market. He's just totally lost his game. At no point really was he ever. He just wasn't the Superman, but he was still super competitive. But yeah, I feel like we're in a similar spot to where we were at this time last year, heading into Quail Hollow. He hadn't won. And we just all of a sudden went on a run, stacked a couple more majors on the mantle, and then won a bunch of tournaments. So yeah, he's terrifying.
Who would be your 5th guy for this season to join Scottie, Rory, Cam, and Fitz on the all PGA team? Because I think there's a very clear-cut answer, but some people seem to disagree with me. And I don't think the answer is Jake Knapp. Dude has been in contention once all year, despite all of the top 10s, and he was god-awful in that event on Sunday.
So Xander's been really good, but similar to like a lower level Scottie, where the expectations for him are higher than most because he's typically pretty competitive. I think people that are in our sphere have a pretty good idea. And I think people in our sphere that actually don't drill down even into the data as much don't realize how well Siwoo Kim has been playing this year.
It's not but every time Siwoo has had a chance to win a tournament, he has actively lost it.
That's fair. I mean, I think I had him at
Amex.
Yeah. Scottie just boat raced him on Sunday. I mean, the approach stuff has been insane for Siwoo. If you go into like the scoring opportunity stuff, no matter what range we're picking, like Siwoo has been awesome. But yeah, I mean, you're right in terms of him actually threatening to close. That's kind of his bugaboo, right? There's always one bad putting round, and that's kind of kept him out of it. Yeah, but I mean, look at this. Look at these numbers. He's been awesome.
So this is under the scoring approach scoring opportunity tab at the rabbit hole. So you get your ranges and how often they hit it either inside 5, 10, or 15 feet. Like it's kind of nuts. Like inside 5 feet, almost 10% of the time from 100 to 150 yards, 5% from 150 to 175, like just all the way down the board. He's just green. For whatever reason, he's bad from like 50 to 100.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of it. That's a small sample. Look where he ranks in those. Like they're all bright green. But if you turn on rank, I mean, he's like it doesn't matter. Like you find guys that pop in a bucket here and there, but like he's just elite across the board, no matter where you're from. So yeah, you make a fair point in terms of actually, I mean, threatening the top of the board, but in terms of actually feeling like he has a chance to close and win, that's been a little bit of a bugaboo for him this year. He's not been able to close.
It has been. I think the answer is very clearly Chris Gotterup.
Yeah, it's a lot of it was early.
Yeah, but we're not saying here's the all PGA team of the past 2 months.
Totally fair.
For the season.
Yeah, no, and he's awesome. I feel like this is. I have a Gotterup number 2. I have an early Gotterup that I got, I think, at like 55 because I thought it was a bad number. And I think we'll probably still be able to get that 55 right now or even come Monday. So he hasn't really moved too much. He feels like an Open Championship guy too because he does have kind of all the shots, which is not what I was thinking of Chris Gotterup a year or two ago. Felt like maybe kind of a TrackMan type golfer, but he's just got a little bit of shot making ability, which is fun. So it's fair. He's got 2 wins, different venues too, winning at Walleye and then winning at, in the desert is just such a different demand off the tee in particular. So that was super impressive. So yeah, you make a good point.
So it got her up for me just because he has the 2 wins. Obviously, he has a debut at the Masters. He was pretty good, not great. I believe he was top 20. He's kind of petered off recently, but that's what you're going to see. Like, what do you appreciate more? Is it like 2 wins and like closing when you get into contention, or is it a bunch of backdoor top 10s that a lot of like Xander?
Oh yeah, Xander's the king of that. I mean, I had him at the Masters T9. We didn't even see him on the weekends. Like, he was not part of the broadcast because he really wasn't a part of it. That's old Xander. Even that's like 2019, 2020 Xander. Just no smoke Sunday, top 10. So yeah, it wouldn't be Xander to me. You could also make a case for Bridgman, which has been surprising. Again, the putter, just profile wise, that's hard for me sometimes. And I'm always just like, yeah, he's just getting it done with the putter so much. That's why I like the Siwoo profile.
I think that Collin Morikawa is where you need to look at here. Is like the only other true. You could say Ludwig because he has a bunch of like top finishes, but again, he's just kind of crapped all over himself every time that he's gotten to contention. But when we just go through and take a look at what Morikawa has done, yes, he was bad at Doral, but wins at Pebble, T7 at Riv, T5 at Bay Hill, gets hurt, comes back at the Masters, comes T7, T4 the week after that. And these are all signature events or majors. And he has a win at a signature event. I think that he would be the only other one, but I do appreciate winning twice. And it's not like those were the worst fields. Because someone was like, well, do you think that Brian Campbell should have been on? It's like, that's a very disingenuous argument. And once you start making arguments like that, you very clearly lost the plot on everything. But when you take a look at the opening event of the year, it was a pretty good field. And the field in Phoenix wasn't quite a signature event, but it's not like Scottie wasn't there. Hideki was way up. It took a big charge for Gotterup to win that. It was like, oh, wow, here we go.
Yeah, and it always impresses me. Like I said, if you can do it in its different styles, like that, in terms of what those courses are asking you to do, that's impressive. That I think caught our attention for sure. Morikawa, I mean, we can't pretend what his players' finish was going to be, but that's obviously a course that I think we've all thought of a good fit for him historically. That Sawgrass would be a spot where he could play some really good golf, and he was obviously in some pretty tremendous form. So it was a bummer to see him go out there so early. So. Yeah, he's I think he's interesting this week. So we'll see kind of where he pops up in our model.
So you've already loaded in a model, correct?
I have. Last time we did this for the Masters, I hadn't turned it live, so I felt bad. I wanted to make sure I was prepared, and we could take a look at that if you wanted to.
So all you need to do is go to the main page on the rabbit hole. You click on expert models. You can pull them up and you can see everyone's models that are up there. There's mine that I built on the show last week for Quail Hollow. But Noonan, first look at Aronimink. Let's see what you got popping up here. Who's now? Scottie Scheffler's number 1 with a 97 total. He and Cam Young are 0.02 points away from each other. I always like to think about this in tiers and with the way that you've split it up. And you can walk us through how you got to the stats that you landed on for projecting this out, and tell the people how good you've been with this model so far this year.
Well, it's been good. We actually are doing something every week too, putting the consensus. So Pat and myself, along with Ron Kloss, PGA Splits 101, and Andy Molitor, who I do our betting show with on Tuesdays on our Betsperts Golf YouTube channel. He's running like a mean regression report, basically trying to see how accurate the 4 of us are, both in our like top 20 of the model and the model overall. And the model's had a lot of success in winning some golf tournaments, have got over the line 4 times so far this year. So hopefully we can keep it going here. I think just betting on Cam Young has been pretty nice. He's accounted for 2 of those for sure. So that's been pretty helpful. But I push for this. This would be something, the total, like you said, that you highlighted there, was something you could see last year only if you downloaded into a CSV. But I think it's really important to not just get the model rank, but to get the model score, because I think seeing the deltas of where there's a drop off is really, really important. Like, yeah, theoretically, Adam Scott's 10th in the model. Well, yeah, I mean, but there's a pretty huge gap from him even like to 8th and Russell Henley, and a pretty sizable gap from where the top of the board is. So that to me is something I want it to be signal. If I'm building a model and not trying to make betting decisions or DFS lineup decisions off of who I'm modeling, then I think I've kind of lost the plot myself. So I really want to make sure I'm being strategic thinking about models I've built in the past, what worked, what didn't, and trying to make sure that we're getting dialed in. So yeah, Scottie and Cam separating, Rory right there too, and Fitz. I like having what I think is kind of the clear top 4 right now, right there. Even top 6 even.
Those are the power rankings that the tiers would kind of be Scottie, Cam, Rory, then Fitz on an island of himself in tier 2. Then you go down to Xander, Ludwig, Rickie Fowler, and then Russell Henley as that next tier. Then it's another gap. And the next tier of like 9, 10, 11 would be Hatton, Scott, Siwoo, Akshay, Fleetwood, Rahm, Mav, Burns, Jake Knapp is there. Like, he is unlikely to play. Nikolai, Morikawa, Cantlay. Like, it's a big cluster of guys. Bryson, Reed, Spieth, Thigala, Bridgman, Alex Smalley, and Sepp are both right there too. They're sort of that next tier in terms of the stats that you've weighted. And we can go and take a look at that, but I think there's a pretty clear distinction. I have a question for you about what I should be doing at the PGA Championship. If Dave Otees of the show, when we were grinding golf in the offseason, we released a big major preview show where we gave out the best future bets on the board for each of the majors. And the PGA Championship was the only one where I think I made more than 2. I made 3 bets for that tournament. So I have Robert McIntyre at 110-1, Matt Fitzpatrick at 80-1, and Justin Rose at 75-1. Ooh. I have those 3 guys already in the chamber. Do I just bet on Scottie then?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, gosh, that's Bobby. When would Bobby Mack have been 110? Like, that's such a good pick off by you. The Fitz 80, same thing. Like, I guess I get it, but like, I feel like those future odds are never really that generous anymore, but good for you. That's a fantastic start to the week.
Now here's the issue. I had Fitz 110 to win the Masters. That didn't really work out. For the amount that I've bet on Cam Young and Matt Fitzpatrick this year, I have been on exactly 0 of their wins.
I tweeted it out. I wrote a column for Golf Digest in December talking about like the amount of golfers to bet on early in the season that'll win you money. Number 1 was Matthew Fitzpatrick. Number 2 was Cam Young. Matthew Fitzpatrick, I have had 0 winning tickets for this year. So I was directionally correct. At no point have I lined that up correctly to actually make some money. So that's pretty much a bummer.
Fortunately, he's coming through for me on my underdog best ball teams that are still alive. Because when I was like early on in the season, like when we were doing the drafts pre Sony Open, he was going in like the 7th round somehow.
That's wild.
80, and then people caught on to what was up. He's like, oh yeah, this guy's actually good. We should probably pick him.
Yeah. And those underdog, you weren't following you and Byron, all the work that you guys were doing, it was such a massive edge, and you were just kind of drafting off of the preset rankings. You were kind of dead before you even started and didn't even know it if you were casual.
Yeah, if you do get into Code Mayo, get you the big deposit bonus, you can draft off of those for next year. But I will say that the European players, especially if they go play the European winter swing and kind of trend upwards, and that's what Fitz did. Fitz won the DP World Tour Championship and has parlayed that momentum over. Nikolai Højgaard kind of did the same thing. Nikolai has taken a bit of a drop off right now, but that's to be expected with a young player who sprays it off the tee. But overall, I think that he is one of the few players this year who has really leveled up, like along with Gotterup, along with Bridgman, Jake Knapp, and these guys, that it's not uncommon to see, oh, they had 4 really good months and then they have 2 kind of crappy months. Then they come back at the later part of the season and they're good. That's kind of like even the best players go through ebbs and flows. That's what makes Rory and Scottie so much different than the rest of everyone.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, Fitz has been around for a while. He's been good. He's a major champion. He's, been part of a bunch of Ryder Cup teams. He's been around, but for him to level up at this point in his career is a little surprising. Like, I think he was better than he was for that little stretch where he was really struggling. I think bouncing back and forth between caddies, I think, was a problem for him because his, Billy Foster's old caddy was like semi-retired and would only be around for a little bit. I don't think that's good for someone like Fitz, who likes to get very routine. We know he's tracking every shot. So I think he's really settled into a nice spot for him, but for him to level up, kind of stepping into that top tier, has been really cool to see. And there's just no weaknesses in the game.
So 15% in your model has been allocated to strokes gained total for the past 6 months overall coming in. So this is your recent form tab?
Yep, that's 2026 recent form.
And if we do it by average, again, it's Hatton at the top along with Scheffler, Rory, but we only have the Masters data from Hatton and Reed. So that's actually looking pretty well on him. Is there someone that you, like, even we go back and take a look at this right now, and we say, hey, who's number one in this? Who's number two in this? He goes the worst. Scheffler's the best. But there's a lot of guys in here that, obviously the ones you think about. I'm actually kind of surprised Hideki is as high as he is at 10th.
Yeah, I mean, it's total. But when you look at it, it's been, which is so surprising to say, it's been all putting. And I've been trying to look at, because we had a lot of people making cases in our Discord last week for Hideki.
I bet him. I bet him at Doral.
Yeah, and I get it, but and I was looking in the spike putting or the spiked ball striking, and it just hasn't happened. He just hasn't had any real ball striking weeks. He's been doing it with the putter, and we know what happened at Waste Management, where he just had to hold on because he could not find a fairway. He couldn't even find grass for a little while off the tee, which is just insane. But just not Hideki's build typically, right? Like the ball striking is good, and then we have these really weird putting situations. He's also been for him, not as good around the green too, which is, again, he's so good around the green. But I don't know. He's just been a tricky one. He's one of these guys that he shows up this week, blacks out and wins. No one's surprised. He's one of these guys, almost like a low-level Justin Rose, where he's really tricky to model. Like Rosie never models well. If you're just kind of building, I never bet him because he's never going to show up well in data. And he just, occasionally shows up, lights get bright, and he likes those spots. So he's just a harder guy to model.
I would throw Justin Thomas into that mix too, as guys that are difficult to model.
That's
because
true.
when they show up and they have their game, they're like, oh, Siwoo for the longest time, you used to be that guy. You're like, oh, Siwoo has missed 8 cuts in a row. Oh, now he's the best player on earth for 4 rounds.
Yeah, no, that's a good call out too. JT, that's kind of the new JT. Maybe that's where we're at too. I don't know what to make of him.
And to your point about Hideki and his around the green play, you can see there's a 2-year trend now for his off the tee just simply getting worse. It's the first, last year was the first year ever he lost strokes off the tee, and he's even worse this year after a decade trending up and being really good. He's never been as good as when he first came on tour, and he had plus distance, and he just hasn't had that in a while. You see 4 straight years of losing distance to the field and losing accuracy to the field and the ball speed. I mean, 173 is a great ball speed. 10 years ago, not so hot now.
Yeah, for us. Yeah, that's not great for him.
But even on the margins, you can see his approach has ticked back up a little bit, and some of that probably has to do with being so wildly out of position and making great hero shots. But as you said, the around the green is still elite and good, but it's down from where it was each of the past 2 years. Even though the putting is up a little bit, you just take away the driving a little, flip the driver, and now it's actively bad. And just take away a little bit of the around the green, which, the approach play is up for Hideki, but he's just simply missing too many greens. And if he's not chipping himself out of it every time like he had been over the past 2 seasons, he's kind of screwed. Like he can't string together rounds and really go low anymore, it feels like.
Yeah, and if we're going to say the fairways are going to be at a premium, I'm not necessarily looking at accuracy or distance from the edge of the fairway too much. Maybe we should be, but it's really tricky to make a case for for him in a spot like this.
Well, let's take a look here. Let's go past 6 months. Tom McKibben doesn't have the most stats here because, being on live and only playing 2 rounds at the Masters, which didn't really go well for old Tom McKibben. He was, I just vividly recall it was Carlos Ortiz. I think McKibben was in the same boat too, that there was a bunch of live guys on the early part of the broadcast that just looked like they were having the worst time ever.
Yeah, no, the McKibben stuff, he was out early. Yeah, he got out big early too. I think by the time he maybe 3-4 holes in, he was already 3-4 over par.
So let's extend this range to past 18 months. So we'll go to the beginning of last season, and we'll look at distance from the edge of the fairway.
What a Blocky sighting?
What's that? Yeah, Blocky is up there in the 7 rounds. Dude's pretty accurate. Got to give him that.
Just if he hit it 20 yards further, he'd be Rory.
If he hit 100 yards further, he'd be Rory.
Yeah.
Gumberg, not to be confused with Bill Goldberg. This is Jordan Gumberg, is probably the most accurate. But it's funny that he's not even the most. He's 53% driving accuracy. He's a PGA professional. There's 20 of those in the field of 156 this week. But his distance from the edge of the fairway is 17 yards, which is kind of hilarious. So of the real players, Henley, Rye, Morikawa, Glover, the Smother Man, which is really surprising to me because I don't feel like he does hit 66% of his fairways, but it doesn't seem like that as someone who has won a ton of money on Smotherman this year, but then followed up by betting him again. Just it feels like it's fairway, 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 the worst possible spot you can be.
Yeah, he's maybe he just paints it down the middle, but then when he misses, he's spraying it. But good for him. Yeah, he's been another B team guy to your list earlier, right? Like he doesn't qualify for the top tier, but he's definitely been an improver for sure for 2026.
Yeah, I would say that he would be on maybe he would be on the most improved all PGA
Yeah.
team. I think maybe, does it make sense to do it like the all NBA and have like 3 teams of 5 guys, or do you just call them like foursomes and you just have 3 teams of 4 guys because it's golf?
I think foursomes is appropriate. Yeah.
So Siwoo's up there, Connors, Noren's interesting, and then you have Fitz, who's, I mean, this is different than driving accuracy, obviously. So do you want to explain the distance? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Distance, the average distance in feet and inches from the edge of the fairway when a player misses the fairway, I think is pretty interesting to think about that. When you miss the fairway, by how much do you miss it by? And like that usually leads to the most accurate players, correct?
Yeah, it's so much better. You'll find this, I don't know, I find it to be so much more predictive when we're trying to tell an accuracy story than the binary driving accuracy. This is a couple years ago, even now at, I want to say maybe it was Houston, and Scottie was like, in that field was like 75th in driving accuracy, which is surprising. He was first by margin in distance from the edge of the fairway. So like, it's just such a binary, yes, no, hit the fairway, not hit the fairway. But we want to really capture like spots where there's like high water danger or really penal rough by looking at distance from the edge of the fairway. Cause we want to really, what we're trying to do is just say, we want to keep the ball in play. So like you could be in the first cut and not in the fairway, but you still have a chance to, make good contact and keep yourself in play versus, oh, you're kind of in the straw or the pine straw or like, behind a tree and spraying it all over the place like Hideki. So I think almost every time I'm looking at accuracy, depending on the test, I'm defaulting to distance from the edge of the fairway versus accuracy.
When you go into filter by conditions, we can run this again over the past 18 months, put fairway accuracy at average to difficult and miss fairway penalty at average to high to kind of simulate that, because there's certain guys like Houston's an interesting one because it doesn't matter where you hit it in Houston, you're
Correct.
fine.
Yeah. I just remember that data jumping out being like, wow, he's, if you just looked at accuracy, thinking accuracy might work because it had been in the Shell Houston Open previously, you needed a little bit of accuracy in Houston, and now it's a completely different course the way they set a Memorial Park every year. So, yeah, I always try to tell people, if you're looking at accuracy, even total driving, build your own hybrid total driving. If you want to look at carry distance or driving distance, fine, figure out which one you want to look at, and then create total driving via distance from the edge of the fairway versus driving accuracy.
So you have Michael Block and Elvis Smiley here when we filter it down to more difficult to hit fairways where it is penal to miss. You have Henley still number 1, then you have Block and Smiley with the 2 very small samples, Morikawa, Rye. So very similar names as we saw. You see Ryan Gerard jump up, Seb Straka jumps up. A lot of Tyrrell Hatton in these driving stats and a lot of Shane Lowry in these driving stats. There's JT Poston as well. One of the courses that Keith pointed out to me, obviously in a similar area, was last year's Truist at the Philadelphia Cricket Club. It's obviously not as long as Aronimink, but you might be able to see a similar style of player come out of there. Like we saw a lot of Lowry, Seb Straka, even Justin Thomas near the top of that leaderboard. I don't know if Lowry and Straka have the distance to really make this easier on themselves, but if we do take distance out of it, we know that they're great second shot players.
Yeah, I was on Sepp at Philly Cricket last year, but I do think part of why is I like Sepp in spots where he's more like 175 and under. And I feel like this week is going to be more 175 and up. No, Sepp is actually, I think, improved from a long iron standpoint. He's great, but I think it's an interesting, situation in terms of just the agronomy and style of that, 1920s Northeast course like what we have this week. So that's a good call out.
So Keegan was the winner here last time in 2018. We are all expecting it to play a bit more difficult than the -20 he got into the playoff with at Justin Rose. That was a week where Rory opened with a 63 and then shot a 62 on Saturday and somehow didn't win the tournament. He and Tiger were the first round leaders that year.
Yeah, Tiger too. We'll go back and watch that. It takes you back for sure. It feels like a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago.
I think this is really interesting right here. Bryson, well, only a 47% accuracy, driving accuracy rate is actually on the higher end of distance from the edge of the fairway on this style of course. So Bryson, well, kind of a mental case at times, especially when you hear him talk, that he has a strategy coming in. And we've seen it in the past that he doesn't always pick the right strategy of what to do at some of these courses, but there's a few of them that really stand out that he picked the right lane, stuck to that game plan, and he didn't win the Players. the year that Justin Thomas won, but I don't know that he hit driver off of any tee that wasn't a par 5 that week, and it worked perfectly for him. He did the same thing at Heritage, two of the years that he was in contention there. And then obviously Winged Foot is going to stand out as being like, hey, no one can hit a fairway here, so I'm just going to hit it as long as possible and hit wedges in every green.
Yeah, I mean, this is telling in the sense that it's kind of our point. He maybe just had foul balls occasionally when he misses, but also could be some strategic off the tee club selection piece for it too. Yeah, he's tricky. I mean, I feel like we always want to find reasons to go to Bryson in PGA Championships and US Open setups. If it's a spot where you're going to have, like, think of Winged Foot. We always default to the Winged Foot way it played. Everyone's going to be missing fairways. Might as well push it down there as far as possible. I'm not sure if that's going to be the setup, but to your point at the top, like maybe Bryson finds a way to hack it, and that's his way to separate, because obviously he can separate from a distance standpoint.
Of players with 12 or more rounds under these settings, Hatton is the highest guy who ranks near the top of the list, who has plus carry distance. He's at 301. Then after that, it's Jordan Smith. Even Matt Fitzpatrick is still a little bit behind on this. I bet you if you looked at his numbers now, they would be a little bit different if we shrunk this to past 6 months, because he has increased a lot of his driving distance. You see JJ Spaun is right around field average. My guy, Shooter Sean Yella-Mirage, who's not technically in the field yet. If Jake Knapp WDs before Sunday, Yella-Mirage is in. Old Yella, Shooter McGavin is the guy that you need here. Then it's Harris English, Rio Hitsatsune, Tommy Fleetwood, Patrick Reed are kind of then Bryson and Keegan would be the next two. Scheffler, Kevin Yu, there's Neiman, Kevin Roy, Dustin Johnson, who got the special exemption. Akshay, I think, is super interesting for this course.
Yeah, I'm an Akshay guy too. With you, it doesn't take much for me to be convinced that Akshay can play. And you think about, I mean, the win at Bay Hill, long golf course, thick rough, demands, elite ball striking. Those are not like the trickiest greens, but they're firm and fast. And that's, I think, what we're going to have on deck this week too. I would love to see him show up at Quail and show a little bit of form, because he's been a little bit hit and miss. You just got to take out like the bad 9-hole stretch here and there. We had at the Masters, and I think he had one at Doral as well. We just got to figure out to get a little bit more consistency, because, major championship with the top of the board playing as well it is, you just can't have those brain farts for 9 holes.
He was sitting firmly inside the top 10 at Doral before just melting down coming home into the terrible final round. Yeah. But the putter has been amazing. It would worry me that basically since he won by having one of the worst weeks ever off the tee at Bay Hill, because the chipping and putting was so good and the irons were good. But even last week, like a bad approach play for the first time since Torrey Pines, and he had been pretty elite with his iron play, and the driver has just continued to be bad. It's funny, on these courses that have a ton of water, Akshay just loses strokes off the tee, yet finishes okay.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, remember looking back at the stats for the Bay Hill, because I think he was a popular click the next week. People wanted to bet him at Sawgrass, and I was like, man, it's just tricky. You think about how he got it done the week before. It's you can't really fake that around 2 weeks in a row. At Sawgrass is going to be a tricky test, but yeah, it doesn't take a lot for me to be interested in Akshay.
I wanted to bounce over to Oak Hill for a second, just take a look at the last Donald Ross course, obviously the 2 PGA championships there. I would say that there is a line of demarcation over the past 10 years of when the PGA Championship started taking their setups a bit more seriously, making them more US Open light. So I would look more at the 2023. Plus, it has names that we recognize here, rather than Duffner beating Keegan, I think it was. No, beating Furyk, Stenson, Scott Piercy, Adam Scott. If we take a look at the Brooks year instead, Brooks, Scottie, Hovland, Cam Davis, Bryson, Kitayama, Rory. The one thing that sticks out to me here is that, yes, Straka is there. Outside of that, he's kind of like the only non-elite driver on this list inside the top 10.
It's a good call. Hey, keep going down a little bit too, and you get, Cam Smith. But
Smith sucks off the tee. I bet him that week, and it's not great. Let's see how old Cam Smith did off the tee. Cam Davis, like the only guy who was like Hovland wasn't great off the tee, but gained over 10 strokes in approach. Kitayama was actively bad off the tee that week, but that the distance was a plus. Yep. There's Cam, minus 2.4 strokes gained off the tee. Yeah, that tracks for Cam Smith.
That does track for Cam
But
Smith.
Look again, like a lot of the guys, when I talked about the cricket club, Sepp won, he was 7th. Shane Lowry was 2nd, he was 12th. Connors played really well at that tournament, and Connors just had a really bad Sunday. He was +5 on Sunday to come T12. You have Hatton and Fleetwood. That it's some version of great ball striking with obviously a lean to distance that these shorter guys can get close. They just can't compete at the very highest end. It would seem from my vantage point, and I think we're going to see that again this week.
Yeah, so the Sepp, I guess Morikawa, Henley crew,
Fleetwood,
yeah, we can expect some competitive, top 20 finishes, but do they have enough to get over the top? I mean, Morikawa is kind of a little bit above that in terms of distance. Like, he's just insanely accurate. He doesn't hang back distance wise as much as like a Henley does.
Well, let's filter by conditions. Let's reset all the filters and stick here. And the way that I like to look at it is, let's just take a look at rank, and we'll take a look at drive or strokes gained off the tee and just see how guys are doing it. So obviously guys can tone it down. Like Rory can just start hitting 7 woods off the tee if he really wants to. It's not that big of a deal, and that's going to increase his accuracy. He'll pull out driver where he knows it's going to be a problem that you're going to have. Well, who's a good example of this? Siwoo Kim, I think, is the perfect example this year. He's 10th in strokes gained off the tee because he's 12th in accuracy. He's 81st in distance. Now, we know that he can't putt, so that's going to be an issue for him for winning one of these tournaments. It never happens. But his lack of distance is going. It feels like if you wanted to bet Siwoo top 20, that would be a good bet. Siwoo top 10, maybe a better bet. Siwoo to win, probably a bad bet.
Yeah, I know there were some big numbers, and I looked at him, but I had that same thought. I'm like, yeah, do I see Siwoo winning this? It's just going to be one of those LCLV situations where, my 80 is now 55. It's like, yeah, but he still does not have a snowball's chance in hell of actually winning this tournament. So,
like the one that sticks out to me here is Bobby Mack. So Bobby Mack is 13th in strokes gained off the tee this year, over the past 18 months. Is that what I have said? Yeah, past 18 months, and we can even improve this to past 6 months if you just want to look at this year. But this gives us a better sample on some of the live guys and just longer form in case someone's just kind of in a recent slump right now. But McIntyre 60th in driving distance, 53rd in accuracy. That makes him 13th. Do you believe that 60th in driving distance in this field is long enough to kind of hit the criteria that I'm talking about? For reference, Morikawa is 102nd. Fleetwood is 106th. Hatton is 20. Is Hatton a really good bet? He pops up on everything we've looked at so far.
I miss Hatton on the tour so much because I shouldn't necessarily because he wasn't getting home for me often, but I would bet Hatton all the time. Long par 4 scoring, I think, is really good for Hatton. Long tests, difficult golf courses. He was kind of a total driving darling before he left, and then when he was really in his live heater a couple years ago, that was it too. He just piping the ball longer than I think we think, and then pretty accurate as well. So yeah, Hatton's appealing.
So McIntyre now, if we just shrink it down to the past 4 months, he's now up to 47th in distance, up from 60th, and 28th in accuracy, 5th in strokes gained off the tee, which is ahead of Rory, Xander, Woodland, Penge. That gives me a bit more confidence. Listen, I hope he wins. I can win a lot of money if Robert McIntyre wins. I don't think that he's going to win, but at least this is somewhat encouraging.
You know what, though? He's just another guy. He's not quite to the degree of like the rosy, difficult to model guys. He is a little tricky to model, because sometimes the approach stuff is
his approach can be good or bad. That's his entire thing. Like, you can see just every time that he hits his approach, it doesn't even need to be really good. It needs to be not actively terrible.
Yeah.
He 4th, 2nd, 4th. And at Open Championship 7th, US Open 2nd. He plays better against really hard fields a lot of the time, or he just blows up.
Yeah, I think that was a note that we had on the master shows. I think there was a stretch of anytime he's gaining a half stroke on approach, he's top 10. So, and the moment's not too big. He's such a dog. I think he likes those moments. I think he likes difficult golf courses. I think he likes playing against the best in the world. He's definitely, not going to be a guy that the moment is too big for him or too bright. So he's, when you have him and he's chasing, I think he's a fun bet to have for sure.
Yeah, he might be a good live bet if he's if you see that he's hitting his approaches well, that all of a sudden it's oh, okay. We know, just take a look at these results. The driving and the putting is good every week. Every week it's good. Every week this year it's been in the positive. The last time he lost strokes putting was at the Tour Championship last year. And before that, it was the Scottish Open, his home event where he's won there before and putted well there. It's crazy. You do not see this sort of consistency. This is more consistent than Denny McCarthy is. Now, he's not gaining 18 strokes a week putting, but he's just not ever losing it, which keeps him around when he's having a bad round, which is always nice. Especially, I think that's why in majors, he's been pretty good. That he doesn't putt himself out of it. And when you're putting this well all the time, you never waste a good ball striking round, which is always key. It's kind of the Michael Kim effect, where Michael Kim has one heater round every single week because he rarely puts himself out of these things, that when his approaches are going well and he's driving it well, he really does capitalize. Bobby Mack is sort of the advanced version of that.
Yeah, left-handed Sam Burns in a way too. If you look at Burns,
that's a good comp.
It's, Burns always consistently putting really well. If he happens to fall off, he has no shot. But just, you need these spiked putting or spiked approach weeks from Burns to be competitive. He's just a tough guy for me to click because there's just a lot of inconsistency ball striking.
Yeah, and you can even see year to year, it's never been 2001. I think he won 3 times that year, or maybe he was close to it. That was the last time he really spiked on approach. Other than that, the driving's he's more long than accurate than Bobby Mack, but the putting has always been good year over year. Yeah. Chipping comes and goes, but the approach is just, it's a tough scene for him. He has gained in 4 straight though. Those two guys, the 2 guys that we just mentioned, I do think fit a specific profile of guys that could win majors. It would not stun me if Sam Burns won the PGA Championship. You're like, oh yeah, he hit his approach as well this week and he made every putt. Of course that happened.
And that year that he won, if he got into contention, he closed. So you had a little bit of oh no, Sam Burns is a closer. You get him in the mix on Sunday. And I don't think we think that anymore. He fell off real quick at the Masters. I think Oakmont real quick, right? Final group. And I guess he was in it to the end a little bit there too. But even going back to this year's profile, the putting is insane, but that's what's required to get into a top 20. So even then with the putting, he's still not getting when the approach and ball striking stuff is it's still not spiking enough to get him to actually be in contention. Really, again, outside of the Masters. So that's a little bit tricky for me with Burns. I need him to have almost a 75 percentile putting performance for him. And then even if the ball striking is just kind of above field average, he still might top out at a top 10.
Well, the interesting thing about him right here is you kind of hit it on the head, that I've always described it as, listen, Sam Burns can gain, 5, 6, 7, 5 strokes gained putting in a tournament. Yet he also finishes in the negative sometimes too, because it's putting. You cannot reliably count on him gaining it. And even when he does gain the 7, that was at the Players Championship this year, he came T13. Right. He's not doing anything with it. Whereas Scottie, except for those 2 months that happened to him, that his approach play is going to be good. His ball striking is going to be good. And he could gain 6 strokes putting in a tournament. And you're oh, if he does that, he's going to win by 8 strokes. Whereas Sam Burns, as you mentioned, a top 20 or top 10 isn't necessarily on the board. 5 strokes gained at the Heritage, T16. That should never happen to Correct. A guy that we think of as, he's a Ryder Cup player, a President's Cup player. This shouldn't be a thing for him.
No, it's totally, look, it's Cam Young. Okay, Cam Young's spiking. The putting's been insane. Oh, he made everything at Doral. He's gonna regress. I'm yeah, you know what? He's been doing for a solid calendar year, gaining strokes putting, in holing out birdie putts from 20 feet. And all of a sudden, if he pairs that with the ball striking we've seen this year, then yeah, that's how you win a bunch of tournaments. So the ceiling outcomes are still not there for Burns. Even when like you said, 7.5 putting, you should definitely be top 10, and he was T13 the Players.
Take a look at the Cricket Club from last year, last year's Truist Championship. Sepp wins at 16 under, followed by Thomas and Lowry. This feels like another tournament that Lowry just had and gave away.
He did. It was great. Lowry did that for me here. He did it for me with Nico. Having Shane Lowry in the mix when you have someone else running on Sunday is it's a really good feeling if you're chasing down Shane Lowry. So I like Shane. Lovely man. But yeah, he's definitely not, the Sundays are tough. Pants get a little tight.
So we also had Cantlay, Bridgman, Tommy Fleetwood, Cam Young, Keith Mitchell, Jagger, Xander, Connors. This is a somewhat similar leaderboard to what we saw at Oak Hill, the same style of players. But this, as I mentioned before, this was available and open, as you can see just at the very top here, to that next level of driving distance. And I think that's the question that everyone has to ask themselves. And it feels like you and I are both on the same page, is that you probably do want a bomber.
Yeah, I think the length is going to matter, because length matters throughout the bag, right? It doesn't just matter off the tee. The length is going to show up in these approach shots too. And if, again, we're talking about these really, really strategic green pin placements that they're going to be able to have, and you have these very large spines running through, greens and reg is not going to matter. It's going to be about proximity. So to be able to hit a 9 iron instead of a 6 or a 7 iron, to be able to hold and find your pin placements, that's going to matter quite a bit.
What do you make of Patrick Cantlay?
I'm a never Cantlay guy.
So am I, but he's actually starting to play
way better for sure. Yeah. It's a hard click, and I don't feel like we get discounts. I feel like we're still kind of paying for pedigree there. So I haven't seen what his outright number is right now, but it's just a name I never click.
He's coming off an illness at Doral, back in the field at at the Truist Championship. At Quail Hollow. He was T9 at the PGA Championship at Oak Hill. In case people were wondering, enters at least the Truist with 3 consecutive top 12 finishes, and mainly was kind of kept down by his putting, honestly, at the Masters and at the Heritage.
Yeah, all year really too.
That's weird for him. He's usually, I guess it depends. It's funny to think about him because he went on this prolific run. He won 3 times. So 2021 was his run, but he was mainly winning once a year, right? And I think this is the Cam Young discussion that I'm having. It's the same discussion we had about Scottie. Will this keep up? Or is it just everything coming together at exactly the right time? I would throw Fitz into this bucket as well, of guys that are just outperforming. They're clearly good players. And Xander did this 2 years ago when he won 2 majors, but then he got hurt, unfortunately. Was how sustainable is this long term? Or does this fall into that better case of what I spoke about with Nikolai Højgaard earlier, is that guys just ebb and flow. And sometimes the length of that gets extended when you're a better player, when you're a Cam Young or a Patrick Cantlay. Look at some of these results here. 2 playoff wins. Everything is rolling here. Driving, putting. Even the chipping wasn't all that great. It was fine. The putting was fine, but it was the ball striking that just went up a level, and he was able to match it. And that was on the heels of starting that year pretty terrible on the greens, got to Memorial, then boom, it was just takeoff. Everything else just started coalescing and coming together at exactly the right time. Do you try to break up the season into segments like that? Knowing that it's unlikely that Cam Young just keeps a heater going all 8 months. Ditto for Matt Fitzpatrick, that there's going to be 2 or 3 other players for May, June, and July that they spike all of a sudden after being kind of for the first few months.
Yeah, it's fair. I'm stolen valor on that Memorial win, though.
That was the Rahm COVID one.
Yeah. I think that's realistic. What we're seeing from Cam Young is so remarkable that you have to be realistic to understand that regression is just natural. Golf is hard, and things kind of ebb and flow naturally. The Cam Young thing specifically, I think, is noteworthy because there are, I think, some sizable changes that independently would be noteworthy. But what's kind of happened with a bunch of these things together at the same time makes me feel like it's, I don't want to say sticky, because I don't expect him to just T3 every week, but I do think he has earned his way into this next tier, and I think it's sustainable. We always knew that there were loud traits. Even when he came up in 22, he could putt. He rolled it well, right? He threatened at Harbor Town. He threatened at Southern Hills. He threatened at the Masters. He didn't close, but he was really good, and he hit it a mile. But now what we've had in the last calendar year are all these things that I think by themselves are massive. He had Paul Tesori on the bag, and this is a trending player. We got to get a veteran caddy, good on web. He gives up his long-term caddy to, get Cam over the line. I don't think it worked for Cam. Now he gets this boy from Wake Forest on the bag, who apparently is a stick himself and is an elite greens reader, because Cam's passed that over and delegated that process to Kyle, and it seems to have worked pretty well. He switched to the right ball, and that's kind of changed back to playing his draw more. He was trying to play more of a cut, and now he's got this Pro V1 double dot prototype that's less spinny, and he can play his draw and not worry about the hook spin that he was having a problem with. And he also wasn't hitting fades really well. So now he's changed his swing path and his ball flight and the ball and the caddy and his greens reading. And now it's just kind of all coming together at the same time. These are pretty sizable changes independently, and now they've kind of coalesced into this spot in the calendar where he's just been kind of unbelievable and has earned his way into that top tier. So yeah, what will it regress? For sure. Do I think it's actually for real? Yeah, I think it's actually for real. And while it's really hard to separate, because again, at this time last year, he went to Columbus, Ohio, and had to win a 5-man playoff on golf's longest day to get himself into the US Open. And now he's going to be single digits at the PGA Championship. And I think it's deserved.
So to take a look at it, this is exactly what we were talking about right here. He was T4 at the Canadian Open. Earlier that week, he played himself into the US Open, where he also came T4 that week. And then it was, bad at the Travelers, bad at the Rocket, cut at the Open Championship. Then he just spikes and he wins the Wyndham. And since then, you can see the positive putting starting to come. The other big gap with him, he was kind of like Burns and Bobby Mack that we pointed out, that once he started hitting his irons well, he started winning. Because he was just always an up and down irons player. You can see the red and the green, and the green isn't the dark green on strokes gain approach for a while. It's a very light green. Then you get the dark green, just dark green everywhere. And it's funny that you had these two tournaments at the beginning of the year, Phoenix and Pebble Beach, where he was just bad with his irons. And that happens throughout the course of the year. But as you can see right now, the one thing that would worry me a little bit with him coming into the PGA Championship is the irons are getting worse again. And he's making it up because he gained, how many strokes total is that? Like 7.5 at Doral. Like, he's always going to be elite off the tee. But the chipping, he's gaining 3 a week around the greens. He's gaining 7 on the greens. This is kind of what we called fool's gold from Scottie earlier in the year, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. What was interesting to me for the Cadillac in particular is if you look at Cam's 50 round birdie or better rate on par fives, it's like 53%. It's above tour average. He made birdies on 25%. He was dead last in par 5 birdie rate. So while we can offset some of the putting gains, I do think if you were to regress back to his mean on par fives, that's weird. Like, there's no reason for it. It just timing of, it's like Scottie at the Masters. He couldn't, just the timing of when he actually just kind of missed off the tee a little bit. Didn't get himself in position and wasn't able to take advantage or capitalize with eagle putts, tap in birdies. That's kind of what happened to Cam at the Cadillac. So even though he won by 6, there's a path for Cam to have won by a lot more if he was just basically his standard 50 round rate on par fives. So it's totally fair. The putting will regress, but again, the putting has been a little bit consistent. It's been, Burnsy-ish. It's been Bobby Mack-ish. So while I'm okay with, building in a little bit of regression, I do think that there's room on the par 5 scoring for him to kind of level out.
Do you have any faith in Michael Brennan? I was just looking at him, that we talked about, like, long and straight off the tee. He is the longest, straightest guy off the tee right now on tour. He's obviously a rookie, and the results haven't been great, but I played him at the Masters in DraftKings. Just like, he fits the mold of someone who should be good here. And I get that he can't putt, but we've seen a lot of guys who can't putt play well at Augusta. I don't know if this is a great fit for him, but I think ball striking wise, he's going to be very good.
I do too. Yeah, I mean, I buy it long term. When you have that pedigree at a big school and you won a bunch too, and you kind of come out right away and get it done. Like, I know it's not a great field in Utah, but it's not an awful field in terms of like the jabroni swing season fields. Like, I feel like the RSM and Utah get pretty solid fields. So that was a good win for him. So it's a guy that I want to buy long term. I think he's probably a viable DFS punt this week because he can put it all together, especially if the putter starts to trend back up. A guy I want to buy long term for sure.
So the only other thing that I would look at here, let's go back to your rankings and just let people know the other things that you've thrown in here, because we don't need to go through all of them specifically. You have passed 36 rounds over the past 2 years for a very strong and strong field. So essentially signature events and majors.
Yeah, just want to rule out anything where guys are picking on light fields. Same thing. The second one is the same filter, but with just ball striking in particular. So I really want to harness in on that. I want to get a sense of what we're getting from the course before making any adjustments to anything around the green. But I wanted to look at, I think, ball striking just more predictive. And, again, strokes gained are field adjusted. So I want to be able to see when you're getting it done against, tougher tests.
So to take a look at this, so the best players overall in these strong fields have been Scottie, Bryson, Cam Young, Rory, Rahm. Big shocker there.
Yep.
Henley, Fitz, Ludwig, Fowler. A lot of Fowler and Hatton. A lot of Fowler and Hatton popping up here. Akshay and Fleetwood. But as you can see, it's been ball striking wise, which is the more reliable part of this. Morikawa is next. Like, inside the top 10 of the ball striking of these guys, you have everyone in the top 5. They're all inside the top 10. Fitzpatrick's inside the top 10. Ludwig's inside the top 20, so not bad. Fowler's just outside. Akshay's down at 48th. Tommy's at 34th. Then you see Scott, Xander, Morikawa, and Siwoo Kim. They're all getting it done on ball striking, where Bridgman, Reed, Knapp, McIntyre, McNeely, guys that you would expect to get it done by the putter, but it's very clear that is how they're doing this. Like, they're okay tee to green and making up a ton putting.
Yeah, I think we both agree too. We want to lean on the ball striking stuff. It's nice. We want the spike putting outcomes and the possibility for that. Some guys just don't do that ever. We want to make sure we have that as within the range of outcomes. But in terms of making a model, bankable skill sets, we should always be defaulting to the ball striking stuff.
So you have very difficult, and average scoring conditions over the past 2 years, past 24 rounds. Any surprises here? Cam, any new names? Nope. No new. Hovland does jump up a bit here.
There you go. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
He and Straka are the only two, and Justin Rose. Oh, my guy, Old Yella.
Yeah. He deserves it. He's been awesome. He's been so consistent throughout the bag. Just anything with him would be.
My question to you is, if you had Kyle and I tried to put together like the all rookie team and who is rookie of the year, he's the rookie of the year, isn't he? It's him or Michael Brennan.
Yeah, he's the rookie of the year. He's been so good. I mean, he doesn't have the win like Brennan does, but he's been more consistent. He's gaining throughout the bag. He's been better in stronger field events. I think it would have to be him.
So bogey avoidance, Scottie, Henley, Cam Young, all the same. Thor Bjornsson jumps up. Cantlay and Day jump up. So does Robert McIntyre. There's Davis Thompson.
More good Rickie stuff there too.
Yeah, more Rickie. Rickie's everywhere. But
I know.
Has he been in contention yet this year?
I don't really think so. I felt like he might at Doral for a little bit and then fell off. This is a nice couple of signature event finishes.
Yeah, he has 3 top 10s in signature events. He didn't get into the Masters.
Right.
Although his results recently have been more fueled by approach than just putting, which they were earlier on in the season, which I do think is a good sign.
Yeah. He modeled, I think he was 4th in my Cadillac model. And I think he modeled pretty well for me for Quail Hollow as well. And then, again, feeding in some of that same tough fields, long courses, difficult scoring condition type stuff. He's popping a little bit. So I can't get there from an outright, but maybe a little bit DFS, maybe a little bit the finishing position.
Strokes game putting, gaining putting being very difficult or average, a minimum of 8 rounds. And you're looking at the past 50s. The bigger the sample, the better, obviously, for something like putting. So you got Burns, Knapp, Harry Hall. There's Cam Young 4th. There's McIntyre. There's Bridgman. Rory is 9th. That's crazy.
Yeah, difficult setup. So not looking at putting, but really trying to look at, is it difficult to gain? Is it 3-putt avoidance? Those types of things. So I wanted to try to do my best to replicate what I think the putting demands are going to be. So yeah, Cam Young does not fall out of the top 4 in any of the metrics.
So to look at it again, the big 4, at least on the odds board outside of the live guys, because they're going to be harder to track here because they only play major championships. Cam Young is 4th. Rory is 9th. Matt Fitzpatrick is 19th. And Scottie Scheffler is 24th. There's a name that hasn't popped up here a ton that I kind of do like. I mean, I bet him for Quail. We'll see how he ends up doing. But I think that Alex Noren, if that sort of shorter player can survive, I think that he's the right mix of long irons and putting in difficult venues. You can even see trending way upwards with both putting and approach play. And the off the tee is going to be right around break even. Obviously, he needs to do better than that. But I think this is a better style of course for him than something like the Masters would have been.
Yeah, we don't want Noren when it's going to be a birdie fest. So I do think if it's going to play tougher, that would be a good Noren thing. I'm in DFS. I'm definitely above the field this week, and I think I have a finishing position bet. So if he does play well, I think he could be another name in that similar vein that I go back to for sure. Trending really well. Never going to really gain distance wise, but the putting can spike, and the approach stuff I think is pretty notable. And solid finish last year at Quail Hollow in the PGA as well.
So par 4s, he was in the final group at the PGA Championship last year. Just didn't turn out great on Sunday for him.
Sunday.
Yeah, par 4 efficiency on course length being long in very strong to strong fields, which is major championships. Scottie, here, there's Rickie Fowler again.
I know.
3rd.
Yeah, and par 50 round sample. It's not a small sample of Rickie on par 4s because again it's a par 70 setup, so we have 2 fewer of the par 5s. So I think par 4 scoring is strokes gained par 4 is gonna matter.
Yeah, Burns pops up here along with Bryson and Rahm, Rickie and Cam Young along with Scheffler. There's Rory, Ludwig, and McNeely, Spieth, Wallace, Bobby Mack, Hatton. Okay, let's go to coolbet.com. You hit the description. If you're in Canada outside of Ontario, you can hit the description and you can play on coolbet.com. You'll get a big bonus. And there is a Cabot Links and Cabot Cliffs giveaway going on right now. If you use code Cabot26, all your golf bets are worth 5 times the points as a part of that draw. But here's what the odds look like. Now, I would advise, unless you see something outrageous, to wait until Monday morning or Sunday evening when the odds reset, because the odds are just simply going to be better and in your favor. But here are the odds of the PGA Championship right now, Noonan. Scheffler plus 365, Rory plus 675, Rahm 14.5, Cam Young 14.5, Bryson 15, Xander 17. Then you're into like Ludwig, Fitzpatrick, Fleetwood, Morikawa, Rose. And then Thomas is at 40, at that Hovland, Brooks, Cantlay. Hatton's at 45, McIntyre's at 45, your boy Gotterup, he's at 45 as well. Neiman's at 55. Like, if Neiman doesn't win and live this week, he's going to be like 100 to 1 to win the PGA Championship.
Yeah. He'll need it for sure.
Does anything stick out here to you though? Like, of just guys down the board? Like,
Rickie's 90.
Is that what it said? Ricky was 90.
Yeah, maybe Rickie's an each way play to if he's in the mix, we can cover some positional finishes.
Ricky, Scott. What about Spaun? Because Spaun kind of he didn't pop up on a lot of that, but he's the right style of player because his putter can get real hot or real cold.
Yeah, I mean, I think in my opinion, I think 2 ways to approach these types of situations, whether it's a new course that comes in to rotation that we don't see often, or it's a PGA or US Open setup. Obviously, some US Open tracks, we know how they're going to play because we've seen them historically. We have seen, obviously, Aronimink, but we've only seen it once post redesign. If you're not sure how it's going to play, or there's at least a little bit of unknown, whether it's setup or weather, I think you either pick a lane and just build your entire card off of that type of like demographic, right? It's going to be, I'm just building a Bombers card. Or I think you kind of spread the wealth a little bit and you go, well, I want to have an out in case it ends up being more accuracy driven, where maybe the Henleys and the Spawns of the world can be in play a little bit. So I think just strategy, laying it out, depending on what we get from, boots in the ground, things that Keith will tell us or whatnot. I think having those 2 mindsets and staying pliable, depending on if you have 110s or 80s in the bag, if you start to build your card fresh, just kind of stay open to kind of the new information and kind of build your card that way.
We'll have shows all week for the PGA Championship. Obviously, the picks and bets is coming out on Monday. We'll have the best bets on Tuesday. Keith live from the course to finalize everything on Wednesday. And the Millionaire Maker DraftKings pick show is coming out on Sunday this week with myself and Alex Blickel and Tambo. So that's going to be a lot of fun as we continue to talk all of this through. Noonan, you can find them at betspertsgolf.com. If you use code Mayo, you get 25% off the rabbit hole that you just watch us walk through, and you can adjust it any way that you want. Plus, when the official projections come out, we'll have odd simulations, winner simulations, top 30 simulations, head-to-head simulations, plus all the DFS projections that you would ever need. It will all be in there. And one lucky person will get a free year if you use code Mayo this week. Noonan, for the final bets, I know that we have our futures in because we got the good numbers. Those numbers aren't available anymore. What do you think that your betting card is going to look like now going into the week?
Yeah, right now it's Cam Young, it's Gotterup, and I have a 150 on Bridgman, which I don't necessarily think Bridgman's winning, but I like the number.
But let's say we throw that out. Let's throw out my futures, throw out your futures. You're coming at this fresh, like most people are.
Yeah.
Where do your eyes look here?
I'm with you at the top. So what I'm interested to see what happens is what happens at Quail Hollow, and then what happens in Live Virginia. If we get like a really good finish, but again, it's not a great field, so we probably get really good Rahm, Bryson finishes. And if we get some sort of combination of Rory, Cam, Xander, Fitz doing something, what does that do to Scottie's number? At what point, like how big do you think Scottie's number can get here? Because you said 360, 365 on Cool Bet. I'm curious do we think we can get to do we think we can get 5?
I mean, can we get to 6? I think that him to get to even, let's say 5. Let's say 5 is the floor. I think it could go larger than that depending on what happens. You need the confluence of Rory winning, Bryson or Rahm winning.
Yeah.
Bryson or Rahm coming in second, Xander coming in second, Ludwig coming in third, and Cam coming in fourth. Something of like all of the other names that aren't Scottie do really well this week. And then maybe that happens. Just everything that we've talked through. Hatton and Fowler really did stick out to me as guys that are playing much better than maybe I thought, are more of a fit for this course than I thought. But everything just points to Scottie to me this week.
Yeah, me too. I want to find ways to get it done. I would love to get a bigger number, but yeah, Hatton 100% will be in the card in some way, whether that's each way or a high finish position. He's modeled really well. It's a name that I like a lot. I like his style. Again, long and straight. I likes the moments. I think he's played better in major championships, even since going to Live. Rickie feels like a call your shot kind of situation. 90's better than obviously what we've seen at like 35 and 40 the last couple of weeks in these signature event fields. So that feels like a decent price, but I'm shooting towards the top. I feel like Scottie is just too close. And again, 5-1 is an expensive ticket, but I want to have the winner. I'd rather have some sort of money coming back than try to get fancy and build a great long thick card that's not going to really matter when Scottie boat races people.
Yeah, it's never fun. And with his approach play trending back up to regular Scheffler levels and now the chipping and putting not being there for him, it does present maybe a buying opportunity. I just wish he hasn't come in second each of the past 3 tournaments. That's the shitty part about it.
Yeah. I mean, we want form, but we don't want you to close because then we can't Cam. It's not possible for Cam to win at Quail Hollow because he just won and then everyone needs him to win with their futures number next week. So he obviously can't win this week. So it was so funny with like what we require from form until you win or do it, or unless you won here before, like you can't go back to back at the same course. That stuff never happens until it does, like Rory winning here all the time. So yeah, I would love a 5-1 on Scottie. I think I would, be a little bit irresponsible with budgeting and take that swing.
It is, but with the futures, that if you do have futures in place of guys that also have a chance to win, mileage may vary on Justin Rose at this point with his new irons. That who knows? The second tournament that he played after his new irons last time, he won. So, and as you just mentioned, that Justin Rose has been one of the more inconsistent players overall. That he's just hard to figure out when he's going to pop.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Fitz and Bobby Mack, and then you can add Scottie, and you still probably have, I don't know, 3 of the top 15, 2 of the top 5, probably in terms of like actual win equity here would be a pretty nice spot to be sitting when it starts.
I'll have my column out in the Substack. That's completely free. You can join my free newsletter down in the description. You can also find my columns and cheat sheets up at betspertsgolf.com, where you can find all of Noonan's stuff. What do you have coming out for the PGA Championship?
My betting card. You want to get in the Discord and help you with your tiers, your DFS thoughts. Subscribers take advantage of that. If you're not in the Discord, we put all of our official plays there on the season. 114% ROI on outrights this year. If you like that sort of thing, jump in there, get all those official plays, and we get in there. That's where the outrights and the early stuff comes to. We push all that through the Discord. By the time it makes it to the site through an article, it's probably moved a little bit. Pretty rabid group there in the Discord that likes to talk. And again, we'll talk about anything golf in there too. Lots of different channels. If you're playing pick'em, you want to, help build underdog slips. We talk through that stuff too. So jump in there, get in the Discord.
Do you get the Discord as a part of the Betsperts Golf Rabbit Hole membership?
Yep. Yeah. The Betsperts Golf sub comes with everything. We don't have tiered plans. It's just as a matter of how long you subscribe. So all the articles, all of Ron's models, your ability to play in the rabbit hole, the Discord, all that stuff comes with it.
And you can get there right now and get 25% off betspertsgolf.com/Mayo. And a lucky person, if you do it this week, we'll get a free year as well. And you can jump into the Discord and brag about how you got it for free to everyone else. That's Noonan. Give him a follow. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me. Obviously, more shows coming out, so sub to the channel. Give your winner in the comment section and smash the like on the way out, okay? I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!